travelers, to another episode, and we have
Episode
something
17.
very special for y'all. We are going to dive into storytelling and how you craft a narrative of, your brand, or just how other companies out there right now are doing it. We've been hitting these waves of, metaverse is hot. Don't say the word metaverse. No one wants to hear it. A Web3, everyone's all about it. And then, now we're also, I don't think I've heard the word Web3 or seen it as a LinkedIn hashtag, because that's also how I get a lot of information, is like, I look at the hashtags, like what's trending right now. Definitely seeing the metaverse quiet down a little bit, but like AI is still kicking up, especially when it's to storytelling, and narratives is one of the keystones that I found for marketing. So on that note, kind of going to pass it to Xander to kind of, I know you've been putting together your portfolio and, crafting your own narrative of who you are. I've been also working on resume. Caroline's out there doing her thing too. So I'd love to hear from y'all.
Totally. I think, what's been apparent to me is more than ever, as you mentioned, your own personal narrative and brand storytelling are paramount, because the technological waves are going to continue to change, and as we adopt more innovation, there's been so much news in the realm of AI that it's like it's apparent that we're going to have to start being able to shift quickly to trends and stay ahead of the curve. So personal branding, the storytelling aspect and personal brand, I think extend to both freelancers, whether you have a job or you're seeking a job right now. I think crafting a compelling narrative, there's a lot of things that you do, a lot of consistency throughout those three things. So niching your storytelling, your aspect of storytelling within your industry can open up a lot more doors to you. So if, for instance, I'm a designer, and so I've really niched down to being a designer that focuses on video and incorporating next-gen tech like generative AI and immersive. So that's kind of my niche aspect within marketing and things that I've decided to do. And then the rest of my narrative and story kind of stems from there. So to my point, what you could do is, and then, you can specialize on, like Tim said, going to the content of the things that you're specializing in and seeing what the stories are, what the current trends are, who's players in the field, and incorporating and engaging in that sort of networking opportunity, and also just having an overview of your industry can be very valuable. You can speak intelligently about current trends, jump into seminars, webinars, learn who the thought leaders are, engage with the thought leaders, and start to formulate your own brand and opinions and knowledge base for those things. So I also would invite you to check out my portfolio. It's xandersimms.art. There's a lot of the things I talk about there. Appreciate the feedback, appreciate the traffic, and hopefully you can see some art that you enjoy as well.
Love it. I guess we've all been working on kind of like on, I guess, expressing our brands and trying to, I guess, craft our own narrative. I like recently just went from 1-page resume to a 2-page resume, which it doesn't seem so big at first, because you're like, in school you'd be like, yeah, that didn't feel like so much of a difference. But when you're telling your story, oh wow, I was like, who am I? And it's interesting to see that, like, coming back, like a couple months back, we were still, Web3 was still hot. And I remember that was part of like my resume, like I have Web3, blockchain, NFTs, like all the stuff we kind of touched. But I think I just realized it from like sitting down right now with y'all being on this podcast that I did not mention it at all. in my resume. I think I mentioned metaverse possibly once, but it's definitely pivoted to just being a little bit more AI focused. But it's also like I know I've been in the space for a while, but it was also not a hot topic. Like, you know, I've been doing computer vision stuff and like deep learning back before like AI was super hot, like 5-6 years ago. But it was just kind of like it all kind of felt a little prototypey to me because the trends that I see is like until there's consumer, like the everyday person's able to use these tools, no one really cares about them. They're cool and everything. You might share an article, but it's really like the community is a very big part of it. So I am excited to be in these times and crafting, you know, kind of these narratives and diving deeper into like my narrative. And yeah, love hearing from y'all. Caroline, you are, you know, you have so much knowledge about civilizations and storytelling, and I love the way that you approach marketing because something I know I'm preparing to go to a conference, Latinos in Tech conference. I'll be out there, and one of the things, first questions I ask Caroline is like, and I'm not a person who is typically likes being on calls or anything. I'm very, it gets me. I have to like really pep myself up. So I'm like, how do you always be on? Like, especially when you're just talking to new people. Like, I applaud that with you, both of y'all, because you are artists and you're able to just push yourself outside your comfort zone and out there. So on that note, would love to even hear how y'all go about that. Like, how do you, it's such a mental thing that's like the part right now that I know I need to prepare the most for. And like, I'm like, how do I get on? You know, like turn, it's, I visualize it as a switch, but the whole, like, I'm gonna go into like just being super confident and like talking to everyone and going for it. That's my version of on.
Yeah, I think
sure.
if you're having, if there's listeners out there that are having troubles sort of navigating, talking to people, or going out of their comfort zone, or like, how do I sort of be a captain on a ship? Like, I think the piece of advice I could say, from my experience, is like, sometimes if those things are challenging to get to, because it all is a very mental heavy environment to be in, sometimes pretending like you are a character, right? That's why stories are so important. Sometimes pretending like you're a character, whether it's like the captain of Star Trek, or like, whatever resonates to you, and like just being like, maybe it's wearing a hat. I used to wear a lot of hats, physically and metaphorically. No, but like, to write papers in college, I would, put on a hat for the duration of my writing it. So it made me feel like I was a different person or something. And, a lot of that was my own mental stamina to get there. But sometimes, adopting a personality, if you will, outside of yourself, can help drive that confidence, or that character's narrative to, as a leader. Hopefully you're adopting a character that's a leader, to these things, and not like some mischievous character. But that could, take you a long way, because then you also don't put the responsibility on yourself as a human being, like, that you have to carry all this weight, that it's actually, you're like tapping into character, and like you're getting into character, and like you're in this other realm of a role, if you will. And that could be helpful. So finding the stories that resonate with you, and that, have role models, if you will, that can help drive your own transformation as a person. And then maybe one day you and that character might, become a hybrid.
Mm,
But that's why I do think that like role models are important. In ancient times, they used to have idols,
mm,
where they would go worship an idol or a statue, um, that represents that mythological entity. And statues were important back then because it gave people a visual representation of the stories that were being told about these uh, entities. And yeah, I think the visual aesthetics important on that note. And I am a firm believer in clothing and
mm.
physical aesthetic. Although it doesn't define you, it does help transform uh your inner expression. And I think, yeah, that's important, but also the mental underneath the aesthetic of calling to role models or characters to help drive yourself to another level, or to to elevate yourself. So yeah.
I love that. No, like sometimes that's why it's like fashion does play a key role to self-expression because it can, you, you know, they say to wear the thing that makes you feel the most confident. And I love that I've seen both of y'all like prepare for some of our lives, and I love watching it because it is really nice to see how like Xander went and he put on his shades. He's like getting into the zone. Caroline, whenever you're about to do like these lives, it's like really like watching an artist prepare to go on stage, even if it's just like you're broadcasting live. It's not even like even then the way y'all treat it, I appreciate it. It's inspiring. So even now I'm like, I think it's that mind switch that I'm like getting in. So it's nice talking to people who also are out there trying to just push through that. Like I appreciate that you called like a mentally heavy workload. It just seems a little bit more daunting sometimes, putting yourself out there. But if you can just get into I am this persona of like this person who's very confident. And if you just kind of get in there, eventually, like Caroline said, you'll become a hybrid of it. It's like you fake it till you make it. I'm ready out here.
Oh, awesome. I was gonna add one piece to that, and that's just repetitions.
Mm,
It's also easier. Your preparation helps get rid of fear and anxiety in a lot of situations because you've been through it. You know the reps, you understand. So it's kind of hard to synthesize that sometimes, but you can, like, through digital or online events, just to get warmed up to it. So I also signed up for a networking event. It's a Data Fest St. Louis. Um, tomorrow here in St. Louis, as well. So I'm kind of excited to check that out. It's at Washington University, and I've mentioned a few times, like I'm for the last 4 years, I've mostly focused most of my attention in networking on LinkedIn, and let's open me up to a global audience, which is great. But it's just also like where I feel there's an opportunity is with the local market, which includes a lot of the things that we've been talking about today, like going to in-person events, networking, and just getting those muscles firing too. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get my reps in and start attending those events. And it's usually good, if you go in with a mindset. Maybe you could like do some research about the event before, some of the people that are registered for the event as well, and maybe reach out to them in advance. So you have, like, if you're kind of like a naturally introverted person, you can have a little foundation or context for who you're going to speak to in advance, and then you can follow up with them afterwards, and just work on that relationship building component.
it is a lot of like relationship it's almost like dating at a large scale sometimes. It's sort of like, oof, I gotta give myself like, thank you all for being my homies and my pep talkers, because I'm like, all right, it's almost like you're about to go on your first date, and
Back on the market.
I'm like, I'm back on the market, guys. Hey guys, is this seat taken? Is this job opportunity open? Yeah, that's how it feels like. Really out here, but something that I know I need to. I like that you all really push yourselves out there. Like I've seen Xander do it a couple of times, even with his LinkedIn, but like reaching out to people. I know it's something that I'm trying to work towards, being just more like keeping my network warm. You know, a lot of times, sometimes you never know what happens. You can like lose a, you know, uh, they say your network is your net worth. So when you're out there looking for like, you know, your next thing, it's a lot easier to do when your network's already warm versus like you haven't like touched LinkedIn or any of your socials in a while that you're like, hey, it takes a little bit of time to build up. So trying to be better about like keeping my network warm and just like engaging with my community. I also because it just helps with your confidence. Especially, you know, like doing these podcasts. I don't, like Xander said, we've been putting in reps. So now you can tell me I'm going to do a podcast on the spot, or I have to go talk to someone about something, and it doesn't make me as nervous as like it probably did 6 months back before we were doing this. So thank you all for putting in reps with me.
Oh, God. Or Jim. Jim. I'm sorry. I meant to say something really. Your shirt was cracking me up today, dude. Well, we're talking about those things.
Trust me, what classes is.
Yeah, dude. Really
it took me it's a lot easier to read when you're like seeing it too, because I remember for one of our podcasts that we were doing on LinkedIn Live, that this was your background and it was on me to say it, and I was like, whew, all right. I remember you warned me, you're like, it's kind of a tricky word, but putting it back on Caroline, would love some context.
Yes. About the shirt. So I got this shirt when I graduated UCLA, the classics department.
Oh,
And it's kind of a misconception. I don't know why Shakespeare's on there. Because I don't feel like, I mean, if anything, Shakespeare just like literally took all the ancient Greek tragedies and like changed a couple things and like made them catchy and like ran with it. And like, I don't know if a whole lot of English literature teachers or whatnot like really explain that in full, but like, you know, how we feel about he was the original generative AI.
wow.
Yeah.
Deep.
For real. I don't know that he credited. I mean, I guess probably in his time he probably did credit, or everyone probably knew the ancient Greek tragedies like by heart. So they got it. But like generations removed, we were like, oh, he's such a genius. And like he is, I guess. But you know, we don't even know if he's a real person, technically, right?
I think we have Xander as an AI bot right now.
Yeah, so you've gone to the other side.
Yeah, you are. Choo choo choo. Beep beep boop bap. I just don't hear him, but that's kind of interesting because, like, to be honest, Caroline, I don't know much about like I've taken courses even in college for like classic literature, but it wasn't until you were like straight up just drop that bar right now that you know that Shakespeare was the original generative AI, and I think that's when it like clicks to me. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of his source content was existing content.
So, do you feel like part of the reason why his took off more is kind of like because of the way he crafted the narrative? Like he just made it more accessible to people, kind of like generative AI.
I think he made it more entertaining and like more relative to entertainment.
Yeah. Hello.
Welcome back, Xander.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Cool. Well, I was trying to say, I love it, and I feel like we should do like a AI generated like classicist beef. From the Kendrick and the Drake feud going on. I feel like we should have like Plato and Aristotle and stuff and Shakespeare over here. Might be funny. Yeah, that's really cool though.
Yeah, I do wonder. So I did take a couple digital humanities courses that basically they through Google Maps or something at the time, they would let you scroll through different time periods of the Roman Forum, which was very insightful to contextualize like what we had been reading about in different time periods and to like synthesize that information into a immersive environment. But yeah, the shirt also has some columns on it. They created arches, right? Like support systems, aqueducts, the classics. Folks were timeless.
You
Also,
can tell a lot by what it's amazing how
Yeah.
we live in a time where there's already so much technology and stuff that like helps you. I guess like each time period has its own style, and there's just so much that I learned just because of the technology we have now. Because or else I wouldn't be able to see some ancient building and know what time period it was. But now there's just a lot of tools that help you learn a bit more about just ancient history. Like it's a great time to. There's so much creativeness and progress right now with AI, and I know Xander, you were mentioning like before we hopped on this podcast that there's like a lot of AI tools I think that you probably just came out like today or something, or you read about.
Yes, yeah, there totally is. There totally is. So much so I don't even know if I can. I'm still like keeping up with them because it's similar to the Kendrick and Drake rap battle. It's like, which was, I mean, economically so huge. I keep mentioning it because it was like a cultural moment extended far beyond just pure rap, hip hop or rap. It had overarching reaches into the political sphere, um, other forms of entertainment, sports, all kinds of things. But what I was getting is the AI companies are almost in a similar manner. Like when one company comes out with or makes an announcement, like ChatGPT just announced this. I think it's Chat GPT 40, which is basically like an interactive version of ChatGPT, similar to the movie Spike Jonze's Her, which stars Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson as an operating system. Incredible film. One of my favorites. And like this whole thing, we've been alluding to it, but this was really one of those moments. And then the next day, Google announces a similar multimodal model that's kind of like a chatbot like that. And so we're starting to see companies come up with like, corresponding features to make their product more competitive, which is like, do they have insight into what the other companies are doing? How are they keeping up with? And similar to the rap beef where, Kendrick would drop a track and then Drake would drop one a few moments or hours later. And it was just really interesting how those things were correlating. One thing I did want to say though about the shirt and the segue into that was it reminds me of one of the levels from Let Go, our collaborative
Yeah.
immersive project, Dimension
oh yeah.
969. So it's just a little bit to off something that we've done together. We can go and see some of this. So there
Oh,
was
I
Let
love this.
Go.
This is, by the way, Xander's portfolio, so y'all can check that
Shameless
out.
plug. XanderSimms.art. You can check it
Yes.
out. But that was one of the first projects we all collaborated on. Caroline was an incredible project manager, marketing manager. I was the creative director, and also writer. And Kim was kind of like the technical creative that interactive and working with Caroline. So it was just an incredible project, as well as Matt Cavernous and the artists we work with. So this specific level kind of had a classical feel with the Pantheon and its open design. And yeah, so it's just our first collaborative effort and a really cool experience that I just wanted to touch on, and how we all got kind of collectively immersive together.
When you shared
Cool.
it, I only saw like the paragraph, so I know you got pictures
Oh,
too.
oh,
So
okay,
that's why I
okay.
would ask again. Maybe so we
Yeah.
can put some pictures in there, because I think that's one of the things I have to remind myself about doing something that's very like artsy, or like pictures go far in like showing
Yeah,
people what we've like made,
yeah.
especially like Xander. You a lot of these assets are yours. And then Caroline was like some mastermind in the metaverse, just like putting all these things together, and it just made this
There
super
we
easy for me. Like technically, I just
go.
she just said make this move from there to that, and I'm like, all right, that's it. Like super simple, but like it's a lot easier
Totally.
once you have like a great storyline. Oh, it's this flashbacks, you guys.
Yeah. Can you see the
This is
light
where it
box that
all
just opened?
started.
Can you see the
Yeah.
light
Oh
box that just
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There we
So
go.
you can see the images up close. Journey XO, which was really cool to just review and go back. We were so early with a lot of the concepts we were working on, like this was
The 3D
2022.
printer.
Yeah, the 3D printer, which, dude, like a lot of these concepts have been used by major companies. You can go check it out. We dropped this in 2022. The AI Journey X1's the printing of the device, the
Choose.
artificial intelligence, like this was artificial intelligence and human collaboration in 2022 that we started. So it was just, we were really early on a lot of those things, and meta ocean design. Yeah, but the point we were focusing on, this world, this experience, Dimension 969, that took place in and it focused on sustainability. It's like a tech for good moment. And that was one thing I really, really appreciated with the collaboration, Caroline. You brought out like the real mission we had behind this experience was the key theme was we in the universe are the same, diverse. So diverse thought, diversity of expression, diversity of creation. And it was just beautiful to be able to create under the pretenses with the other artists and the team. So cool. I
Let
just wanted
go.
to stop there.
I love
I
that.
had that moment.
And just I guess like piggybacking off what Xander was saying about how like AI companies have been jumping on trends. This is going to share Vigil, which lets you do like animation of of people, well, avatars, from either pictures, or you can take a video and swap them out. You might have seen a couple of these trending, but I also found that very interesting that on the first page you have like Kendrick, like from the rap beat itself, like you have that Kendrick, not like us, signature like dance move that's been going trending, and like right here you have Cristiano Ronaldo like doing his signature. So it's just crazy because before you just you couldn't like I was like freaking out because I was like, guys, like, do you know the amount of memes we could make? Like, and memes is something that's I've been like slowly learning to make, because I with Pretty Theo's events, they're all over the world, and not everyone speaks English, but like people understand memes, and those sometimes end up being like the type of content that like people connect with the most. So it's very interesting to see these AI like tools that could like I feel like that's probably the one of the things I'd use this the most for is just making memes, like some comical content. I know it could also be used for bad things, but you know, we're here for immersive experiences for social good. So
Yes, yes, for sure.
wanted to share that.
Awesome.
So that, what tool is that?
Vigil.
We'll post that in the show notes.
Let's get it. It's currently my favorite. I think it's mostly my favorite because it does video. Been, you know, exploring all the tools, Runway, Midjourney, Caber. Now added Vigil to my list of AI tools, and I like this one a lot. I've also realized that like before I was kind of a little bit, I hadn't played with a lot of AI tools because of the full Discord step, and I have Discord. I use Discord regularly to talk to like my teams in for People Tech Revolution that's based in Australia. That's like our main form of communication, but I hadn't had a lot of experience joining other, you know, like AI servers and then learning how to like create stuff on there. So thanks, Xander, for that walkthrough, and maybe that's something we could talk about on the future episode, because I do see that being the biggest differentiator of why most people, I mean, one of the biggest, I guess, roadblocks into like why a lot of people haven't tried these AI tools is like it's just that step of like knowing where do you even go to get it, to how do you get it set up, and then yeah, 3 is like what do you even create with it. So if you could do those 3,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
usually it only takes like 5 minutes to do, you pretty much already got the whole tool down.
Cool. Did you get my first request on Discord?
Okay, see, like I'm
I think that's
learning.
okay.
I'm learning. I don't. It's because I don't have. I don't think I have notifications, but I will
Yeah,
approve you so we can be friends.
they're hidden in there. I've literally had ones that like a year later I found. I was like, oh, whoops.
Shall we get into some hot topics of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I guess one thing that popped up was the Met Gala using AI, which the Met Gala already has enough controversy in it right now. But I did think it was interesting that they AI'd Katy Perry, I guess, and a couple other people.
Like, for what do you mean? Like for photos, or what did they do?
Yeah. So I'll share my screen.
Let's go.
Oops.
They tricked us, eh?
Why is it not?
Yeah, which one was it? That's wild.
Wait, so they took a picture of Katy Perry and then made it AI?
It was created with AI.
Or like it was made with AI beforehand?
Not sure.
That's the part where it's getting a little interesting, because we're getting at that point where sometimes it is hard to tell. The thing I've been noticing though with Midjourney, one of the first giveaways of like it being AI, like an AI person, is I've been getting a lot of AI AI models with 6 fingers. Like if you look at Praditya's ads, you'll notice sometimes like
They
the
have an
people I
extra.
use, they have an extra hand. Yeah, I think it's something to do with like they'll have the index finger and this one like this, but then they'll have like also another 4 fingers like that way, and they're just like in different positions. So it gets a little interesting.
Another thing I saw pop up this week was something around Storyliving.
What's that?
I think it's, let's see.
Oh, okay, there we go.
What's by Disney?
Storyliving by Disney. It's a physical virtual experience that
Whoa, is that the school for
It's
gifted
the X-Men.
youngsters? That's sick.
yeah.
But like Disney's been very interesting in that I've seen them do a couple projects like this too, right? They had the Star Wars one, and people were really stoked about that, dropping like bands on like that Star Wars experience, and then it seems like they kind of phased it out because I guess the cost was too high or something.
Yeah, that's interesting. They did have big immersive storytelling news. They created like a what if immersive storytelling thing, by the way. Disney.
Hmm.
I think last week.
Interesting.
But I do see immersive. I feel like entertainment brands are some of the people who are definitely still like leveraging a lot of these immersive tools.
Yeah. And they're combining
Definitely.
it, I guess, with developers, home developers. So it's interesting.
Yeah, Disney just also came out with a what the VR walking, the omnidirectional like they designed something. I don't want to say
Yeah.
NASA like, but yeah, it's pretty much like you can walk and you're not moving, but technically you are moving because they design these little pretty much like
Or, I don't know what it's
yeah,
called. Maybe you can.
maybe if I find a
Yeah.
picture of it.
I thought of you when they were introducing it because the lead guy had like 90 something patents or something or another at Disney, and I was watching him speak about it, and this was right before you got your patent approved, so it's kind of cool.
Appreciate y'all. Well, my 2 patents, a couple pending, but you start. That's where you start. Yeah.
So that's all I've got as far as hot topics.
I mean, I think yeah, totally. I wanted to the Met Gala. I mean, we've seen the block out 2024 emerge from that, which has been like really wild to watch its overreaching effects.
Okay. Here's the Disney walk thing, just like so in full screen, but it's like I thought it was really cool too that you can also have like multiple people there because that's something that I've noticed too with the VR. Like you can play VR or like in groups. It's kind of like the equivalent of going to an arcade now. But like I see a lot of applications. Like this is cool. I'm excited to see where this goes. This type of tech.
That is cool.
Back on Xander.
Right on. Yeah. So the blockout 2024 is really interesting development from 2024, which is I guess you could call it a social media trend that emerged because the theme of the Met Gala, I think, was "Let Them Eat Cake" or something like that, and they equated it to the Hunger Games. Yeah, they equated that. A clip emerged, and like just a lot of comparisons with ongoing world events like in Gaza, and with the stark like $75,000 ticket event of the Met Gala, where all the billionaire, millionaire, influencers, athletes, movie stars are kind of flaunting their extreme wealth, and so a trend started to start blocking these individuals from using their form to help ordinary, everyday people. as well as some of the brands that they represent. So it's an ongoing trend. You can go check it out yourself. I think it's operating under the hashtag Blocklist 2024 or Blockout 2024. I think it's interesting. I've never seen anything like this that I can remember. So it's a really interesting social trend. I'm curious to see what happens. I have seen since it started. I have seen there are now entertainers are actually coming out and utilizing their voice to speak out against some atrocities of war, which is kind of the intended purpose. I think what people were wanting. So whether or not that's authentic or just an effect of the boycotting is interesting. But yeah, this is a really interesting story that's unfolding. I'm keeping my eye on.
Indeed. I think it's interesting also that I mean, going back to the power of storytelling, that we're referencing a story to, like, I mean, Marie Antoinette, the movie, I think was where the audio clip came from. And then
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I have a feeling. And then the Hunger Games reference, which is just epic because yeah, like that tells a story about this, like, we're all like living in these different capital divisions, and like, there's one division that basically has all the wealth, which is the capital, and like everyone else is sort of like, yeah, it's wild that we're using these stories to relate modern times to something and have a sort of groundwork for it. And I keep hearing the Hunger Games song, and like, I don't know, it's powerful, the use of storytelling, and connecting through media and music and characters. And yeah, I think we should all be, like Katniss, I guess, right?
Let's go. Totally. Yeah. I mean, as far as like using I've only really seen it. Of course, this is interesting too because of the recent ban on TikTok, legislation passing on that. But I've seen the majority of the content on TikTok, and they utilize the sound, the song, they're like rallying song from Hunger Games, which is even like more. I don't know, like the blending of realities is like Caroline just mentioned. It's incredible that they're utilizing that music to create a whole cultural movement. Really cool.
Yeah.
And
What?
Macklemore as well. His
Oh yeah,
song
true.
as well, and he's kind of an art. He's an artist. He's not a politician per se or someone in that capacity, but
Kim, did we do
yeah.
it?
I think we did amazing, y'all. Like
Episode 16.
one more time.
Episode 16. Over
Yep.
now.
We did it. Thank you all for being here with me, and I'm feeling a little pumped and always excited to go into the next week. So